In this video, I am going over the 5.1 to 5.2 quiz review. This is a quiz on Canvas, but I printed it out so I can work it out for you. The first one wants me to evaluate the expression using a calculator and then round my answer to 2 decimal places when appropriate. So what I want to do here is I just want to go to Desmos and I want to type this in like this. It gets me 0.08 as my answer. The way I type this in case you can't see my keystrokes, was like this. So I press Shift-6 to get that up arrow. Number 2 wants me to find the nth root of the expression below, and it gives us some summary of the notes. I have n equals 3 and a equals -8. So remember the formula for this is a to the 1 over n. And if n is even, it's plus or minus. If n is odd, it's just negative. So n is odd, or positive, depending on what I have. So I'm going to go type this in. I have -8 to the 1 over 3, which just gets me -2. Moving on, this one wants me to solve and then round to 2 decimal places, so I want to start off by finding the cube root of both sides. I get x plus 4 on the left, and then the cube root of 27, I can go back, -27, I can go back to Desmos. CBRT gets me the cube root, and then this gets me -3. So then I just want to go ahead and solve. I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I get x equals -7. Moving on, number 4, same idea, I need to solve. This one I want to find the 4th root. This gets me x minus 3 equals, let's go find the 4th root of 256. Which gets me 4. Because my root is even, I'm going to have 2 answers. +4 and -4. Then I want to go ahead and solve each of my equations. So the first one, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 4 plus 3 gets me 7. On the second one, when I add the 3 to both sides, I have -4 plus 3, which gets me -1. Number 5 wants me to find the real solution of the equation and then to enter my answer as a reduced radical. So I want to subtract 43 on both sides. This gets me x cubed equals, let's go back to Desmos, 97 minus 43 gets me 54. Then I want to find the cube root of both sides. Because I can see that I have the cube root in my answer, I want to factor tree 54. I know 54 is even. When I divide by 2, I get 27. 27 is 3 and 9. 9 is 3 and 3. Because of the 3 in my radical, I'm looking for groups of 3 of the same number. I have 3 3's. So I'm going to take that, write a 3 outside. Any leftover numbers get written on the inside. This one wants me to find the real solution, so kind of like the last one, I want to start off by dividing both sides by 3. I get x to the 4th equals, I'll go divide on Desmos. Gets me 162. Then I want to do the 4th root. I can see again it wants me to simplify this, so I am going to factor tree. 162 is even because it ends in that 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. 162 divided by 2 gives me 81. 81 factors to 9 and 9, which gives me 3 and 3. I'm looking for groups of 4 on this one. I have a group of 4 3's, so that goes on the outside. And then I have this 2 left over on the inside. Number 7 gives me properties of exponents, and it gives me 2 of the same base being multiplied. What I want to do here is I want to take the fractions and add them together. Then I am going to type this into Desmos. If I press this square over square button under the number 1, it turns it back into a fraction for me, which is 17/12. And this is all I write because the answer only wants the exponent. Moving on, number 8, same thing. It wants me to use properties of exponents. This time I have an exponent multiplied by an exponent raised to an exponent. So I want to multiply my exponents. I have 2/3 times 1/3. When I turn it back into a fraction, it gives me 2/9. And this is the divide sign. Number 9 is the same thing. It gives me the properties and it wants me to find it. I have a base divided by another one of the same base. For these ones, I subtract my exponents. So I have 1 minus 1/5. I want to go ahead and go to Desmos and type this in. Turn it back into a fraction. I get 4/5 for my answer. Number 10 wants me to simplify again, and it's off this page. I have x to the 2/3 times x to the 3/4 to the 3rd power. What I want to do is I want to add my exponents that are inside the parentheses, because they're being multiplied together. And then I'm going to multiply by a 3, because it is written at the end. Because it's outside the exponent. So then I want to type this in. And I convert it back into a fraction. It gives me 17/4. Number 11 wants me to simplify. I'm adding on the top, subtracting for the bottom one. So I have 2/3 plus 3/4 minus 1/5. Oops. And I turn it back into a fraction, which gives me 73/60. Next one is still an exponent property. So I want to go ahead and figure this one out. I'm going to multiply the exponents that are being raised to exponents and then add those together. So I'm going to have 2/3 times 3 plus 1/5 times 3. So I'm going to go type this into Desmos. Turn it back into a fraction. It gets me 13/5. Number 13 wants me to simplify this expression using the property of radicals. Because they both have the cube root, I can write it as one giant root and multiply the two together. So I have -12 times 6. I'll go to Desmos really quick. Which gets me -72. Because it's odd, I can pull that negative outside. And then I want to factor tree my 72. So because I pulled that negative out, I'm going to want to remember to keep that as part of my answer. 72 is even, so I have a 2. And 72 divided by 2 gives me 36. 36 gets me 6 and 6, which gets me 2 and 3. I am looking for groups of 3. I have 3 2s. So that goes on the outside. And whatever I have left over at the edges of my branches goes inside. So I have 3 times 3, which will give me 9 on the inside. Over here, I want to add or subtract the radical expressions. Because they have the same ending part, that is going to stay the same, and that's how I can actually add them together. Then I just want to combine the coefficients. So I have negative 9 and positive 4. When I add those together, it gets me negative 5. Number 15 is similar, but I want to first simplify this one. So I want to factor tree that 50. I know it's even, so I get 2 and 25. 25 gets me 5 and 5. So I can pull out this 5, but I have that 4 out front, so I multiply it by that 4. Then I have my leftover number inside, minus 8 square root of 2. 4 times 5 gives me 20. 20 minus 8 gets me 12. And then the inside number here is 2. Okay, the directions are kind of cut off for number 16, but it starts off by telling me that the answer is incorrect, and I need to choose the step that has the error, and then fix it. So, if I take a look at this, they have their original equation, so I am going to solve this myself off to the side. To get rid of this, you would multiply both sides by 2, which gets you x cubed equals 108. So, what they did was they divided by 1/2, which could be right because those will cancel out, but when they did that, it should have given them 108. So the mistake is in step 2. And then I need to, in order to get all of my points, I need to continue solving this. The question wants me to round to two decimal places when appropriate. So I want to find the cube root of both sides. I'm going to go type this into the Desmos. Which gets me 4.76. Moving on, number 17 wants me to write the number that needs to go where the question mark is to make the problem true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by rewriting this problem, and instead of a question mark, I'm going to put an X. Then I want to rewrite it so all of these numbers are in terms of 5. So the first and last number are already 5. I can rewrite 25 as 5 squared, because 5 times 5 is 25. So I'm going to replace that 25 with 5 squared to the x. Then I would just want to use my exponent properties to multiply. So I have 5 squared times 5 to the 2x equals 5 to the 8. Then on the left side, I know I can add my exponents together. So I'm going to have 5 plus 2 to the 2x equals 5 to the 8. Now this is like an algebra 1 equation. I'm just going to take my exponents and set those equal to each other and solve. So I am going to do 2 plus 2x equals 8. Then I want to subtract 2 on both sides. I get 2x equals 6. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 3. Okay. Number 18 is another error analysis, so there's another problem with the work. This one shows up on my next page when I printed it out. So here is the work. They have their original equation. So they did 3 squared times 9 to the 5th over 27 to the 4th. Then they rewrote these. So they have 3 squared times 3 squared to the 5th over 3 cubed to the 4th. Then they multiply their exponents. So you get 3 squared times 3 to the 10th over 3 to the 12th. You want to add your exponents together. So you have 3 to the 2 plus 10 over 3 to the 12th. 2 plus 10 is 12. Then, because these are a fraction, I want to subtract my exponents. So their mistake is in step 5. And 12 minus 12 really gives me 0. So my correct answer is 3 to the 0. Moving on. Number 19 gives me this radical, and it wants me to show my work to get full credit. So because I have a radical on the bottom, I need to get rid of it. I don't like keeping radicals there, and it's a fourth root. So I'm going to start off by factor treeing 27. This is 3 and 9, 3 and 3. So I have 3 3s on the bottom. I need to get rid of it, and I can only get rid of radicals on this one with 4 roots of 3. So I'm going to multiply by the fourth root of 3 on the top and bottom. So it's going to get me 3 times 15 is 45. And on the bottom, 27 times 3 is 81. So I just multiplied those numbers inside the radicals. Then I want to factor tree the 81 to check my work. Gives me 9 and 9. Gives me 3 and 3. I have 4 3s. So I can get rid of that radical. And then I have that as my final answer. I don't want to go any further, and I can't actually go any further because the fourth root, I can't go into it unless the 3 also has a fourth root. Okay. My last question wants me to simplify by adding or subtracting. And this is kind of like the one we did earlier for number 15, except now I have to simplify both radicals. So I'm going to start with my factor tree for 54. This gets me 2 and 27, 3 and 9, 3 and 3. On this one I'm looking for groups of 3. So I'm going to have 2 times the 3 I circled, and then inside my radical I have a leftover 2. I'm going to do the same thing for 16. This gets me 2 and 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. Again, I'm looking for groups of 3, so I can group those together. The 5 stays where it is, and it gets multiplied by that 2 that I circled. And then I have this 2 that gets left over on the inside. Then I just want to simplify. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. 6 plus 10 is 16. And the number inside was 2.